What can one civilian do with just a pistol against dozens of trained terrorists armed with AK-47s, RPGs, grenades, and body armor? You'd be surprised. Hi, I'm Joe Yeager, certified instructor and founder of Executive Gun, where safe and responsible gun ownership begins. On the deadliest day in Israel's history, October 7, 2023, hundreds of Hamas terrorists committed unimaginable atrocities against men, women, and children of all ages. It caught everyone by surprise, and as a result, most lost their lives or were kidnapped. But not all. Some fought back and survived, and when the dust settles, their stories will emerge and will be told and documented for eternity. The terrorists were determined to kill and or kidnap everyone in the settlements they invaded, and considering that they were well-trained and heavily armed, you would expect that no one would be able to resist, not to mention survive. But some did, the ones that were armed. One such story is the heroic fight that Mickey put up. Mickey was at home with his wife and daughter when the terrorists closed in on his house. He hid his wife and daughter in the panic room, grabbed his Glock 19 and several magazines, and hunkered down behind a door and some mattresses. He and his wife had to make the unthinkable decision that they would not be captured alive, that if their stand was to fail, Mickey was to shoot his wife and daughter and then himself so as not to fall victim to the barbaric acts committed all around them. Can you imagine having to make such a decision? As heavily armed terrorists enter his home searching for victims, Mickey used his training and took them down one by one. When the terrorists realized they had their hands full with him, they asked his neighbors at gunpoint to convince Mickey to surrender or they would shoot them. Mickey would not surrender and leave his wife and daughter at the mercy of these savages and stayed put, ready to defend them to the death. The terrorists kept their promise and executed his neighbors anyway. All in all, Mickey eliminated more than 10 heavily armed and well-trained members of Hamas with a Glock 19 pistol, a high level of training, and a cool head. Mickey, his wife and daughter are safe and live to tell their story. One of the few happy chapters in a long novel of carnage. As the stories of the survivors are pouring in, the things that stand out to me over and over are how every story refers to what the residents thought when they first heard the gunshots. First, they thought that perhaps there were only a handful of infiltrators, and the army and police would deal with them swiftly, and it would be over in no time. Next are the text messages sent between victims and their families as their homes were being burned down with them in it. Texts crying for help and asking repeatedly, "Where is the army? Where is the police? What's taking so long?" These settlements were described as paradise. Small communities where everyone knew each other. People left their homes and cars unlocked without a second thought. The sound of rockets and hiding in shelters was a part of daily life. And since they lived so close to Gaza, police and army patrols were supposed to be nearby the fortified border walls. Help did not arrive for 8 hours. Today, these settlements lie in ruins, with the largest single-day loss of life in the history of Israel and since the Holocaust. How could this happen in paradise? You hear me saying over and over that when an attack occurs, be it a home invasion or as we go about our daily lives, law enforcement will not appear like a genie the moment it happens and save you. The military certainly won't. 2020 was a perfect example of how overwhelmed law enforcement was. So much so that in many of the largest cities in the country, law enforcement made it clear they will not respond to calls unless a murder was being committed. In other words, you're on your own for just about everything else. And if a murder is being committed, do you think they'll get to you in time to stop it? Israel is surrounded by enemies whose mission is to wipe it off the map and kill every Israeli and Jew within it. Even the countries that have peace treaties with Israel will not lift a finger to help it and will not shed a tear at its demise. That's the reason it's supposed to have the best intelligence and most powerful military in the region. Yet, despite its might, it suffered the worst failure and loss of life in its history. The false sense of security was exposed for what it is: false. However, most of those who were armed and trained survived and saved many others until help arrived. Some of you already know that, and some of you may see me as fear-mongering. I'm just calling it as I see it, and sincerely hope I eat crow when this is all over. And if it does and you're not ready, what will you tell your loved ones when they look to you for answers? If you watched this far and what I'm saying makes sense, I urge you to do the following. If you don't own a gun, get one and get professionally trained, not only in how to use it proficiently and under pressure, but also responsibly and lawfully. If you already own a gun, make sure you do the same. Do not try to figure it out on your own. Work with a certified instructor who can help you develop the right skills and the right mindset. The time to prepare for chaos is when it's calm. When you see chaos coming, even from a distance, it's too late. Until and if help arrives, you're on your own. If I'm right, you will thank me. And if I'm wrong, you will lose nothing and gain life-saving skills that will prove priceless when you and your loved ones need the most. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and watch the next video right here. Train hard, often, and safely, and I'll see you at the range.